Chapter 25 Lord Takeda Shingen. We made a splendid sight as we left Iwamura Castle. Lord Akiyama watched us with a retinue of high-ranking samurai as we trotted past. He held a fan in his hand and acknowledged our homage by lifting it. He was clad in silk, and I cannot help but think, oh, it must be love. Just look how careful he is of his dress. The journey itself was uneventful. The weather was cold but clear, and we had no rain. During the whole trip, I never saw Lord Zakoji speak to anyone. He rode in complete silence with his personal servant beside him. In front of him rode 25 of the samurai of his escort, and another 25 followed it. Yoshitake and I were among the last. Our servants followed us at a proper distance, so they did not interfere with our dignity. Whenever we met peasants on our way, they would fall on their knees, but the women, especially the young girls, would just stand and stare. If they were pretty, the young samurai would sit even straighter in their saddles. Most of Lord Shingen's army was still quartered near Noda Castle, but there must have been at least 10,000 soldiers camped in and near Nagashino Castle. The castle itself is not so impressive, although it's good for defense. The camps of the army encompassed a great territory around the castle, and as we rode through, we attracted the attention of everyone. Considering that this was an army that had just won a great victory only a few days before and captured the castle of Noda, a strange, subdued, unhappy mood seemed to prevail. Several old friends from Kafuchu came to greet us, but even they seemed out of sorts. Finally, we were told that Takeda Shingen lay ill in the castle and was so weak that he could not stand up. His belly was swollen like that of a woman about to give birth. 2 Buddhist priests who were wise in the matters of medicine had given little hope for his life. "Where is Lord Katsuyori?" one of us asked. "He is here." It was more the tone of the voice than what was said that told me the speaker's opinion of Katsuyori. He will never become the leader his father is, and he will never receive the unquestioning loyalty from his soldiers that all great warlords must have in order to succeed. It struck me that even if his father should die, Katsuyori would remain the Wakatono, the son of the Lord, rather than becoming the Lord himself. Conditions were very rough. Lord Zakoji was housed in the castle itself, but we were lucky to be given a barn to shelter in. We were cold and wished ourselves back in Iwamura. It is said that the news of Lord Akiyama's intended marriage had brought a smile to Lord Takeda Shingen's face for the first time in weeks. He had presented Lord Zakoji with a heavy purse of Kofu gold to be taken to Lord Akiyama as a wedding present. We were not told any of this by Lord Zakoji, who held himself as aloof as ever, but by others who stood near to Lord Takeda and were not so proud that they would not talk to us. The day before we were to leave on our return journey, I was called to the castle as Lord Zakoji wished to speak to me. On the way there, I speculated as to what possible reason he could have for wishing to see me. I did not know in what manner I should greet him, but feeling certain that any form of familiarity would be a mistake, I merely kneeled at the very entrance to the room and asked, "You have sent for me, my lord?" "Come closer." The old samurai beckoned with his hand as he pushed a little cushion in my direction and as an indication that I might sit down. I chose to kneel rather than sit on the cushion, which made the old man smile. I can no longer hear as well as I could in my youth, when I could hear the grass grow and the footsteps of a maiden creeping home from a meeting with her lover. The old samurai laughed. "Now you know my secret, young man." "I am sorry, my lord," I said, and finally paused because I did not know what else to say. I added, "It must be a great discomfort." Discomfort. Lord Zakoji paused as if he were tasting my word. He seemed almost to have swallowed it as he finally said, "Yes, that is very good. Discomfort is exactly what deafness causes. It is not the fact that you cannot hear what others say that annoys you, for few people have anything of importance to say. No, it's the fact that it interferes with your dignity. A wise man can appear a fool to the fools of the world because of his deafness." "I did not think anyone would dare think of you in that manner," I protested. Now I understood the reason for Lord Zakoji's silence in the journey. "It should not matter to me. It is vanity to be annoyed when fools laughed at you. When one reaches my age, one should only be concerned with finding the way, the road that leads to Buddha." I nodded, at the same time wondering if I would ever live to be so old that I would shed all worldly desires. "Lord Takeda wishes to see you. That is why I sent for you." Lord Zakoji looked at me for a moment as if he wondered why Lord Takeda would want to see me. "It seems you have met my lord once before," he added with a smile. "It was a long time ago." I felt my face blush with pleasure. I am surprised that my lord remembered. Lord Akiyama reminded him in a letter, in which he also told him that you killed Haganata Mimbu. "I only wounded him," I protested. "He committed seppuku afterward." "And were you his kaishakunin?" No, no, I answered vehemently, for the thought of cutting off another man's head repulsed me. Wada Kansuke was his kaishakunin. The old samurai nodded in approval, then rose and told me to follow him. Yes, that was right, I thought. Wada Kansuke had been his friend and was of the same age. If I had been his kaishakunin, it would have been wrong, not the decent and dignified act of a friend. The largest room in the castle was used by Lord Takeda. He was seated by a brazier and wore a padded coat, but I think he was still cold, as if the warmth of life had partly left him. I kneeled in front of him and bowed my head so low that my forehead touched the floor. For a moment he said nothing, merely contemplated me as if he were guessing my weight. Just as silence had become almost unbearable, he said, Lord Akiyama has written about you. I bowed but said nothing. He has been pleased with you, and he is not easy to please. This time when Lord Takeda ceased speaking, I spoke. I am honored to serve Lord Akiyama, and pleased that he is satisfied with me. Haruchika. Lord Takeda smiled as he pronounced his own pet name for Lord Akiyama. Haruchika is a great soldier, the best of all my generals. Lord Takeda Shingen paused as he recalled all the campaigns he had fought. How did you kill Hanagata Minbu? I did not kill him, sir. I only wounded him. It was a fight on horseback on a very narrow trail. It was more my luck than experience or skill, I am sure. He was my enemy. Lord Takeda smiled as if he found that amusing. I have had many enemies, but now there is only one left that matters. And that one you cannot fight. Lord Takeda looked down at his own swollen body and then into space as if he could see the road to west, the road to the death, out in front of him. For a long time the great warlord sat silent, and then he groped inside the sleeve of his padded coat and brought out a gold coin. Here, for Minbu's head. I crawled forward and took the coin from his hand, which was white and so swollen that I could see the veins. Serve Haruchika to the end, he admonished. I shall, my lord, I answered, and then suddenly a thought came to me. Once Lord Takeda was dead, how long would it take before Lord Akiyama should fall too? To the end. Lord Takeda repeated his words, and then, taking up his famous iron war fan, he made a movement with it, indicating my dismissal. Lord Zakoji had been kneeling at the entrance to the room and now left with me. As we went outside, he said, he seemed better today. I looked at him in surprise, for to me, Lord Takeda looked so sick I thought there was no hope for him. He must get well soon, Lord Zakoji mumbled. What would happen if he should die, I asked. Everything will be over. The Wakatono is no match for Oda Nobunaga. Lord Takeda must not die. The last words were spoken in a tone that allowed for no argument. He had not referred to Katsuyori by name, but had used his title, Wakatono, and this showed a lack of faith in him. Lord Zakoji invited me to his room where tea was served. He was most friendly, but I guessed that he was shy by nature, and I felt deeply honored by his attention to me. Once, in passing, he mentioned his daughter, Akihime, and told me that his wife was dead. To hear her name on her father's lips brought pleasure to me.